History is often written by the victors. But what if the victor died before he could hold the pen? What if his legend was crushed beneath the hooves of an army he didn't even know existed? We are in the year 530 BC. The location, the banks of the Araxes River, at the edge of the known world. On the ground before you lies the army of an empire that was invincible. An empire that swallowed Babylon, defeated Lydia, and ruled from India to Greece. It was said that their king was the shadow of God on earth. It was said he did not bleed and that he could not die. But today, he is dead. And he was not killed by a coalition of kings, nor by a rival empire. He was killed by a woman. A single woman who promised him one thing: to quench his thirst for blood. How did the greatest king on earth fall at the feet of an unknown queen? What was the dirty trick that ignited this war? And how did a mother's milk turn into a lethal poison? I am the investigator, and today we open the case file that history books tried to forget. To understand the crime, we must understand the victim and the killer. Let's start with the victim, or so he thought himself to be, Cyrus the Great. In the 6th century BC, no name terrified humanity more than his. He wasn't just a king, he was the King of Kings, a military genius who united the ancient world under one banner. He believed he was sent by divine providence to liberate nations, or gently enslave them. His armies were like swarms of locusts. They left nothing standing. After every crown had fallen at his feet, Cyrus looked to the north. There, beyond the Araxes River, lived tribes that knew no cities, built no palaces, and worshipped no kings, the Massagetae. Greek historians described them as monsters. They claimed they drank milk mixed with horse blood, adorned their drinking cups with pure gold, and smoked a strange plant that made them dance all night. But the most terrifying thing about the Massagetae was not their customs, it was their women. In Massagetae society, a woman was not just a wife or a mother, she was a warrior. It is said that a woman among them was not permitted to marry until she had killed at least one enemy in battle. These were the women who would later inspire the legend of the Amazons. And sitting at the head of these people was the widow, Queen Tomyris. Tomyris did not inherit the throne in a joyous ceremony. She inherited it after her husband's death, in a world that respected only strength. She knew that wolves surrounded her on all sides, but the biggest wolf was coming from the south. It began with soft diplomacy, Cyrus's favorite weapon before drawing swords. He sent his envoys to Tomyris. He did not ask for her surrender, he asked for her hand in marriage. Imagine the scene, the emperor of the world proposing to the barbarian queen, an offer that would seem tempting to anyone else, to become queen of half the world. But Tomyris was not naive. She had been an investigator of men's intentions all her life. She knew the truth instantly. Cyrus did not want a wife. Cyrus wanted her kingdom. The marriage was merely a contract to acquire her lands and her people without spilling a single drop of Persian blood. Her response was the first insult Cyrus had ever received in his life. She told him, "King of the Medes, cease your pursuit. Rule your own people and let me rule mine. But if you cannot live in peace and you yearn so badly to face me, then there is no need for marriage. Come and taste our swords." She refused the offer, and she refused the threat. Cyrus was enraged. How dare a nomadic tribal leader reject the master of Asia? He decided to march. An army of hundreds of thousands moved toward the Araxes River. Cyrus built massive bridges over the water, engineering marvels meant to intimidate, to cross his heavy infantry and war machines. Here, Tomyris sent a second message, a message showing frightening confidence, or perhaps megalomania. She said, "Stop this heavy labor of building bridges. Withdraw 3 days' march from the river, and I will let you cross in peace so we may meet in fair battle on my land. Or you withdraw,
and we shall cross to fight you on yours." She gave him the choice. Imagine the audacity. She invited him into her home to fight her. Cyrus chose to cross. He entered the land of the Massagetae, but he did not intend to fight with honor as Tomyris expected. He had a secret weapon, a weapon the Massagetae had never seen before. Not a sword, not a spear, not a catapult. The weapon was wine.
Cyrus's plan was diabolical in its simplicity. The Massagetae were a simple people. They drank milk and fermented water. They were not used to the poisons of civilization. They were not used to aged Persian wine that steals the mind in moments. Cyrus ordered his main army to withdraw slowly, leaving behind a small group of weak and sick soldiers in the camp, and he left a feast. Tomyris' son, the young Spargapeses, thought he had won an easy victory. He saw the food and drink. He thought it was the spoils of war. He ordered his men to eat and drink in celebration of their triumph. They drank and drank and drank. The Persian wine flowed through their veins like black magic. The fierce army turned into a group of drunks sleeping on the ground, unable to even lift their swords. Cyrus returned. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. The Persians butchered thousands of Massagetae while they slept. As for the son, Spargapeses, they did not kill him. Cyrus wanted him alive, a final bargaining chip to force the mother into submission. When the young prince woke up and realized what had happened, he realized his naivete had caused the annihilation of a third of his mother's army. He begged Cyrus to unbind him for just a moment. Cyrus thought the young man would surrender or kneel, but the blood of the Massagetae does not kneel. The moment his hands were free, he snatched a sword from a guard, and in a swift motion, he did not attack Cyrus. He drove the sword into his own heart. The son committed suicide to erase the shame and to free his mother from any leverage. The news reached the mother. The son was dead, the army was dead, and all chances for peace were dead. Tomyris did not cry like other women. She screamed like a starving she-wolf. She sent Cyrus her final message. It was not diplomacy. It was not a military threat. It was a prophecy and a curse. She said, "You bloodthirsty Cyrus, do not pride yourself on this victory, for you won it with the juice of the grape that makes you lose your minds, not with courage on the battlefield. Hear my final word to you. I swear to you by the sun, the god of the Massagetae, though you are insatiable for blood, I will give you your fill of it." The time for talk was over. It was time to fulfill the oath. The investigator closes the file on diplomacy and opens the file on hell. Let's analyze the upcoming crime scene. On paper, this is a losing battle for Queen Tomyris. Cyrus's army relies on the Immortals, heavy infantry, shields like walls, long spears, and military organization that functions like a precise machine. If they crash into you, they crush you. In contrast, the Massagetae army is chaotic in the eyes of the Persians. They have no heavy armor, no regular infantry. Their power lies entirely in two things: horses and bows. The Massagetae are born in the saddle. Their lethal weapon is the composite bow, a small bow that fires arrows with enough power to pierce armor and with terrifying accuracy, even while the horse is galloping at full speed. Tomyris's plan was clear. Do not engage them immediately. She knew a direct collision with the Immortals meant suicide. Her plan was to lure the Persians deep into the steppes, rain arrows upon them to break their formation, and then flank them. As for Cyrus, he was confident. He had defeated the Lydians, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians. These savages wouldn't last an hour. History stands on its toes. Herodotus, the famous Greek historian, described this battle as the fiercest and most brutal battle ever fought by non-Greeks in ancient history. It wasn't a battle for land, it was a battle for existence. Cyrus raised his hand to signal the attack, and Tomyris raised her sword.
The battle began with darkness at noon. Thousands of arrows launched from both sides. The Massagetae used their famous tactic,
the Parthian shot. They rode their horses away from the enemy, then twisted their bodies backward to fire with deadly precision. The Persians began to fall before they could even touch their enemy. The arrows ran out. The time for bombardment was over. Now was the time for iron. Tomyris gave her signal. The Massagetae cavalry charged with spears, swords, and the battle axes the Scythian tribes were famous for, axes designed to shatter helmets and shields. The armies collided. The green steppes turned into a swamp of mud and blood. Usually, ancient battles ended with one side fleeing when the defensive line collapsed. But on this day, no one fled. The Massagetae were fighting with the vengeance of a heartbroken mother. The Persians were fighting because they were the Immortals who knew no defeat. The fighting continued for hours and hours and hours. The scales began to tip. The Persians in their heavy armor began to tire under the scorching sun of the steppes. The agility of the Massagetae began to triumph over the raw power of the Persians. Tomyris was in the heart of the battle, her eyes searching for only one person. She killed and advanced, killed and advanced. And suddenly, the impossible happened. The defensive circle around the King of Kings broke. The Massagetae warriors poured in like a flood towards Cyrus. It was not a poetic death as we see in movies. It was not a noble duel. It was a brutal, chaotic end. They stabbed him with spears, struck him with axes, and trampled him with their horses. Cyrus the Great fell. The man the world thought was a god fell.
The battle ended. The mother had won. But the revenge was not yet complete. Tomyris ordered her soldiers to search among the thousands of corpses. "Bring him to me," she screamed. "Bring me his body, even if it is in pieces." After a long search, they found him. She looked at him. This was the man who killed her son with a cheap trick. This was the man who wanted to enslave her people. Now, he was just a pile of flesh and bone. Tomyris asked for a large wineskin. They filled the skin with human blood until it overflowed. Tomyris grabbed Cyrus by his hair. She raised her sword, and with one strike, she severed his head from his body. Then she took the severed head and plunged it deep into the bag of blood. And she spoke the sentence that history immortalized, the sentence that still echoes in the nightmares of tyrants today. "I have destroyed my life, though I am alive, and have conquered you in battle, for you took my son by guile, and now, as I promised you, I am quenching your thirst with blood."
After that day, Tomyris vanished from recorded history. We do not know how she died or where she was buried. She completed her mission and returned to the shadows. As for Cyrus, the Persians retrieved his body and buried him in his famous tomb in Massagetae, Iran, which still stands today. When Alexander the Great visited Cyrus's tomb centuries later, he found an inscription that read, "O man, whoever you are and wherever you come from, I am Cyrus, who founded the empire of the Persians. Do not envy me this small piece of earth that covers my body." Even the greatest kings end up under the dirt, and sometimes they end up in a bag of blood at the hands of an angry mother. This was the story of Tomyris, the conqueror of the world's conqueror. History is full of unsolved crimes and stories buried on purpose, and I am here to dig them all up. If you want to be part of the next investigation, to discover who killed Alexander and why did the Roman legion disappear in the desert, subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell. I am the investigator, and the case is closed.